I'm in the middle of nowhere in Montana, but I didn't forget about you guys this week. So I'm going to just go through some things that you can build in the great outdoors or figure out in the great outdoors that I learned in Scouts when I was a kid. First thing, I'll show you some pictures. As you can tell, I'm covered in mud. I forgot sunscreen and I am badly burned underneath. So even though I already have really bad sunburn underneath, this at least offers some protection for today so it doesn't get worse. Because right now it's red. I do not want it to turn into purple sunburn. Actually, I got a little bit of that on my neck right now, which is why I'm wearing a bandana drenched in water. So I'm going to show you how to make a sundial, make a compass, and possibly some other stuff. Let's get to it. So here's the sundial I made. Really all you need is a straight stick in the ground. You also want to make a little bit of a clearing here. That's what I'm doing for this second one here. So pick a stick, find the straightest point on it, which would be from here to here. And then you just want to stick that in the ground. Okay, that seems pretty straight. You may have to take off a little bit. And what you want to do is you want to mark it for every hour. I usually use stones, as you can see, the stone count. This is 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. And if I remember correctly, this is 9, 10, 11. It's going to be noon soon, so I am going to have to mark it. And then it starts going a little farther away. Now, you can mark it with stones. All you really need is 2 hours on your watch, and you can kind of space it the same distance apart. That won't give you an accurate reading, but it will give you an approximation of the time. Last but not least, if you actually don't have a clock and you're out in the middle of nowhere and you're trying to keep track of time, what you can do is at sun up, keep track of where the sun came up, and then have that on your left-hand side. Then, when the sun is directly in front of your face, that's about as close to noon as you can get. So you can then use that as an approximation of time. At least you'll know when it's noon. And generally, if you know when sun up is in your area and sun down in your area, you can use that to fill in the gaps as well. Okay, so now we know how to tell the time in the wilderness with no technology whatsoever. Now, you may need to try to get a sense of direction as well, so you can find your way back home or go to civilization, whatever the case may be. So if you have any piece of metal on you, you can actually rub it on some fabric, creating static electricity, which can actually magnetize the piece of metal. Now, the downside to doing it with that method rather than an actual piece of magnetized metal is you can't tell which point is actually north based on that. So you actually want to just try to magnetize the one side so that that side will point north. Now I have a needle here that's magnetized on the tip. I put it through a leaf here so the leaf will float, and then you just put it in a standing body of water. Obviously if you put it in a creek or a river, it's just going to go right downstream. So I'm going to point it somewhat east, just so you can see it rotate on its own. And then it should stop. Yep. So that is, and it takes a little bit, just like a normal compass, it may go back and forth a little bit. If it's really windy, it may be very hard to tell, and if the leaf is touching the edge of the bowl or the piece of metal is touching the edge of the bowl, see how the wind's taking it towards there. Really, all you have to worry about is where it's pointing. So, I mean, you can help it a little bit to see which way north is, but I'm actually going to turn it again. You saw it rotate one way. Let's see if it'll rotate counterclockwise as well. So based on where you know north is, you can then figure out where south is, east, and west. And also, if you're uncertain about the needle or you're uncertain about the piece of magnetized metal, this isn't completely accurate. It could have actually polarized the wrong side. So it's all based on the magnetic field. So worst case scenario, the best thing you can do is sun up and sundown. Sundown is west, then you know the next side is east, and actually sun up also can help you determine which way north, south, east, and west is as well. So I mean, the sun is actually the greatest tool out there for you when trying to figure out the time and direction. However, just figuring out the in-betweens and between the sundial and this little wilderness compass, you can fill in the gaps. You can double check and triple check, because sometimes there's a lot of wood cover and you can't see the sun exactly. So these are really helpful tools. So next we're going to make pine needle tea. Now the reason we're doing this is when you're out in the wilderness, if you do not have a decent food source or a source of vitamin C, this has great source of vitamin C. So whether it's cool water and it's soaking, or we're going to pour hot water in here, we need some vitamin C. You don't want to get scurvy. Now, I only recommend this if you're out in the wilderness for a long time, or if you just want to try it, that's fine. I do have to give a warning though. If you're a male, it's fine to drink this. And if you're a female that's not pregnant, it's okay to drink this. For some odd reason, there are some chemicals in here that can cause some birth issues. So just like you shouldn't smoke or drink when you're pregnant, you really should not be drinking pine needle tea when you're pregnant. Also filter out any bugs or ash inside there. We're going to let that sit for a bit. Now, different pine needles will give different tastes. The nice thing about pine needle tea is pine needles are extremely easy to identify. So we're just going to let that sit there for a bit. Okay, so we're doing it like a tea bag here. And I don't know if you guys can see it on camera. I do see a mild discolorization. And you can definitely smell a difference. Obviously, the darker the color, the more nutrition you're getting out of it. What's really strange is I can taste citrus. I can actually taste a little bit of citrus and pine. So that's how you can get a good source of vitamin C out in the wilderness. Another great thing you can do out here is a grass whistle. Get a very straight and thick piece of grass, and I'll show you how to do this in a minute. What you do is you put it between your thumbs with the blade of grass extended in the middle. The great thing about this is if you're in the middle of nowhere and you can't shout anymore and you're really hoarse, and you think this can get projected further, you can use this to call for help. Now, one may think, well, somebody's just going to think it's an animal. Well, one thing you can try to do, and this is semi-difficult, is try to do it in Morse code. So there you can see I did it in Morse code. Dot, 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 dash, 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 dot, dot, dot. So just to show you, that's the piece of grass I used. Now I'm going to try to show this to you the best I can. This is how you want your thumbs. Now you can have this any way you want. You're going to be breathing or blowing in between your thumbs. And what you do is you take a very straight piece of grass, it can be thick, and it can even be half that size, but I wouldn't go any smaller than that as far as thickness. And then you just put it between your thumbs like so. See how you have some space on either side of the grass? And that's how you make a grass whistle. Okay, so the last thing I'd like to show you guys today is a game we used to play back in the Scouts. We called it the Stump Game. You find a decent tree stump, whether it was cut down naturally or cut down or just fell down. Whatever the case is, you want to find a good solid tree stump. And basically you take a pocket knife and drop it and you try to hit the center. So basically it's a basic version of wilderness darts. without actually throwing a knife, because that's a little too dangerous even for kids. So now for this game, it was always the best out of 3 who could get the closest to the center of the stump. And also it had to be, you had to drop it from above your waist. You absolutely had to do that, otherwise it was considered cheating the closer you get. Also, the blade has to stick. So sometimes if you're really bad at dropping the knife, it may not even stick. And yeah, it was just a fun game we played as kids. We had to do it really secretly because we were afraid they were going to take our pocket knives away or cut a corner off our knife card. And I'm going to just do it once or twice here just to see if I can still get close to the center. Keep in mind, I do have to do it from waist up. So I'm going to take that. And I'm not sure how much you can see because I can't even see the screen. Okay, let's try that again. Oh, I can't do it right now. I'm dropping it too fast. There we go. Not too bad. Center of the stump's here. But that was my 3 tries, so that would have been my spot. And you can go through and mark it. So when the next player goes, you can tell who gets closer. There we go. I forgot, I usually do a quick downward motion like a dart. But like I said, it's just a fun game. Don't play with sandals, obviously, and don't have your feet near the stump where you're dropping it. Man, I suck at this. The thicker the stump, the easier it is for it to actually hold. Nice. Mark that. Oh, see, you get that a lot too, where it doesn't necessarily hold on. Well, I guess that's all for this week. I just wanted to take a second to say thank you for watching, and keep in mind this was all from memory, everything that I did today, and I'm sure there's a lot more I could do if I had a book with me or the internet with me, because I have no internet, no electricity. I don't even have a cell phone signal out here. So it's beautiful. It's about 90 degrees, so that is a little hot. And one more thing before I go, this mud and dirt, if you're stung by a bee out in the wilderness, get dirt on it. It actually helps with the pain and the sting. And I don't know if it may be an old wives' tale, but it's also supposed to draw out some of the venom and the stinger. I know it gives relief. I've actually done it myself. It does give some relief from the sting and the swelling. However, I do not know if it actually takes out the venom and the stinger. So until next week, have a great one.